Good afternoon guys, Dark Purple Shadow here. Today I'm going to be talking about buying expensive items, specifically in the field of tech, and why it's not that bad of a thing. I'm talking specifically about computers. Now I'm going to talk to you about why getting a good high-end computer is not a bad decision. Although on paper they depreciate quite fast, the first biggest thing I'll say is future-proofing wise, I'm so glad I got a GTX 1080 in 2016 compared to a GTX 1060. Showing its age right now, my GTX 1080 still holds its own. If I had a 1060, I'd be sweating, I'd be struggling. A lot of games that I can run relatively comfortably would have to be run on low with frame gen, looking like Minecraft or RuneScape from 2004. It wouldn't be a good vibe. Now that's just future proofing. There's also the element of aspirational buying. Now I'm not one for consumerism or materialism, but there is something to be said about that feeling when you buy something good and you work for something, you save up and you purchase a good item. Nice, top of the line, even for a few months. If you got the best thing on the block, you feel good. And that feeling is what a lot of people live for. And actually, even me, myself, I don't really get a lot of joy from holidays. I'm not a big fan. I don't like going to other countries, waiting in queues to eat food I could have bought from the supermarket down the road. What I enjoy is buying a big beefy computer and then running a 240p YouTube video on it because I can. I love buying things and just having them because when I was a kid, I didn't have none of this stuff. I used to look at the kids whose dads would buy them brand new things and I'd be like, one day I'll be like you, bro. One day I'll be like you. My dad ain't gonna do it for me, but I'm gonna do it for myself. And that is one reason why I enjoy to purchase items. Now you might be different. There is an element of status and marketing involved, I do agree, but a lot of times if you go to your friend and say, bro, I've got a GTX 1080 or modern times I've got a 4080 Super, nobody cares. A lot of times you're getting these items because you're going to use them. And most people who have good PC components do actually benefit from it. Now, when it comes to other aspirational purchases such as cars for example, I've got a pretty good car. I do enjoy it. I've driven a very nice car recently. I had an AMG Mercedes. It was lovely. I loved it. It was nice. I enjoyed it. But on a day-to-day basis, it was actually rather inconvenient to have a car like that because you always have a target on your back. When it comes to computer parts, realistically, most people are not going to try and rob you for them. Nobody's going to scout you out, tear down your home, break into your house, put a gun to your family's head to steal your GTX 4080 Super or RTX 4080 Super. They will do that for cars though. And cars, for that reason, I think it's a bit silly to get a super expensive, preposterous car unless you know what you're doing and you have the facilities to protect yourself. Obviously in the UK we have something called car insurance as well. So if you have a car worth £50,000, which is around, I'm guessing $70,000, somewhere around that ballpark. If you have a car worth that much, you're paying about £2,000 a year in insurance, road tax, all of that stuff. When it comes to PCs, realistically, there are running costs associated with it, but once you buy the item, you have the item. Now, other aspirational purchases that people make, like mobile phones. I've got a Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra. I love my phone, it's lovely, but realistically, I didn't need it and I haven't benefited from it. Very few of the features that are given to me with this phone I actually use. The phone I had prior to this was an Oppo Find Neo, whatever. It was a decent phone and it did everything I needed it to do. And if anything, the only reason I upgraded was my Oppo was just old and the battery was dead and the Android version was out of date. I didn't really need to get the S24 Ultra, but there was a good offer on the time, so I got it. In hindsight, probably not a good idea. Back to PC components. When it comes to PC components, you will benefit from a lot of the overblown components you have. If you have a 4090, you will see a marked improvement in a lot of what you do because you have a 4090. A lot of games will run better. Your PC will last maybe 3 years more than somebody with a 4060. Your processor, if you have a very good high capability processor, your loading times will be better, programs will open easier, you have smoothness in your usage. When it comes to the phone, realistically, a lot of the bottlenecks on phones are just simply your internet speed a lot of the time. Most phones are pretty capable at running a lot of programs and you don't really have many issues with the way phones work. But when it comes to PCs, you have Chrome open, that's 16 gigabytes of RAM gone straight away. Now, what am I getting at? Even if you don't need all the components within your PC, there is some benefit to it. There is some value to having that. And a lot of times, a PC that is overpowered in 2024 will be adequate in 2026, adequate in probably 2028. So there is some benefits there, and you're not going to upgrade your PC every couple of years. You're really not. With phones, every 2 years you'll probably upgrade it, so you could probably get a more meager phone. And realistically, phones really haven't been improving much. A phone from this year is probably on par with a phone from 3 years ago. When it comes to PC components, there is still quite a bit of improvement. Although it might not seem so, there has been a decent amount of improvement. Obviously, there is the fact that we're all consumer slaves and the marketing does hit us too. It does feel nice to have these good products. There is also the element of spending higher amounts of money on better components such as power supplies, cases. You have a better aesthetically pleasing looking PC. You feel more better on your day-to-day. It's like a piece of art. It's like a decoration, and if you're into it, that feeling of joy you get turning it on, that happens every day. And actually, going back to the point about cars, I did get that with that AMG. Every single time I drove it, I felt like the man. But every time I went somewhere, people would talk to me, shady people, and I'd be a bit worried as to why they were talking to me. So you get that feeling of, I feel powerful without having a target on your back. And finally, a lot of times, it might not even cost more to have a better item. If you're smart and you wait for sales and you wait for deals and you look at components when they're at a point in their life cycle when they're not overpriced and you buy then, you're not really wasting a lot of money. When it comes to cars, the discounts, they do exist, but they're quite rare. And a lot of times there's a very limited amount of certain vehicles in production, especially higher end ones. They're not really going to be cutting costs for those. They might give you a better finance deal, but with PCs, they sometimes just want to get rid of stock. Now this is becoming less and less common, but it still does happen. And then there's always the the idea that sometimes it's just nice to enjoy your life a bit. I'm all for one for being smart and not spending money and living like a complete Zen mode monk. But sometimes you gotta live a little, and a lot of people waste a lot of money on silly things, and if it makes them happy, good for them. But I'd rather spend £2,000 on a computer that I use 8 hours a day for 3 years than £2,000 on a holiday that I go for a week and I'm miserable afterwards because I spent money while I was there anyway. That's just me. I might sound like a weirdo, but I don't care. That's just my opinion. And I know a lot of people who are on YouTube feel the same way. There's no need for being upset and judging yourself. If you want a nice PC, just spend the money and enjoy it. And that's why sometimes it's a good thing. And of all the stupid decisions you can make, at least you're not gambling. Please subscribe. Dark Purple Shadow signing out.